Our 911 line has come under fire recently for long hold times and slow emergency response. But the city's Bureau of Emergency Communications, or BOEC, has been working hard to shorten response times all around. And just this month, they scored a big win. One of their dispatchers, Steven Ziprich, was named North American 911 Dispatcher of the Year. Mayor Wheeler even declared an official day last week in appreciation of Steven. So today on CityCast Portland, we're talking with him about everything that goes into being a 911 dispatcher, including what the deal is with the wait times and what's being done about it. It's Tuesday, July 18th. I'm Claudia Meza, and this is what Portland's talking about. Congratulations on officially being honored as North America's 911 Dispatcher of the Year. I didn't even know that was a thing.
I didn't know it was a thing either. It's true honor. It's really great.
Tell me what a typical workday is like for you. Like, is it fast-paced and nerve-wracking as a 911 Lone Star would lead me to believe? Or do you just have like a lot of downtime and then somebody calls and then you're like on, Like, what's it like?
So I don't do only call taking. My title at the Bureau is Senior Dispatcher. And so that means that I am trained in answering 911 calls and non-emergency calls, as well as police dispatch and then fire and medical dispatch. And so my day, I work a typical 10-hour day. We see where we've been assigned various spots throughout the day. And then, if you're on phones, you log into the phone system, get prepped. There's certain tools that I use in my call taking, and then my day begins.
Yeah. So what I'm not hearing is detailed instructions on how to perform surgery or
Yeah, no.
how to give birth or how to not pull something out of an orifice. That's what I'm hearing. You're not doing these things, right? Okay.
I'm not, but I might. The last two of those, well, probably the giving birth thing. I could walk you through a childbirth because we that's part of our medical triage protocol is childbirth instructions. So,
Oh, wow.
But of the three of those things, that's the only one that I would have exposure to.
Well, let's talk about just 911 calls on TV and movies and what they get wrong. Because I can only imagine you watch these shows and you're like, would have been sued in 2 seconds. Like,
oh my goodness.
Tell me like what your biggest pet peeves are.
So I've not actually watched the 911 show. That I've seen commercials, and I've got a vague association to it. I have seen the movie The Call, where she's the dispatcher working down in LA, and she gets this call of this girl who's like kidnapped in a burglary situation, and she goes all vigilante and starts going after, like, do an investigation and like, no.
But Steven, isn't that how you won this award?
Oh yeah, I totally, yeah.
Didn't you just bring down the entire catalytic converter? Just ring? Wasn't that you alone, Steven?
Oh yeah, totally. That was me.
You and just hearing a distant bird, and you're just like, they're in Beaverton. I know that call.
Yeah, I recognize that sound. So I will say that they did, in the movie, they have this person that calls and she knows the guy by name without even, and like he knows her. And we do talk to people, the same people a lot. They might call 911. And it's, I think every agency, every PSAP, public safety answering point or dispatch center has those people. That's not abnormal. So I actually really appreciated that they kind of called that out in the movie, because that is a thing. At least here in Portland it is. So I can only imagine that it's that way everywhere else too. So
yeah. Do you have a list of their names? Should we just shout them out now?
No, I do not.
Sally out in Southeast. How's it going? It makes sense, but it's also just like, wow, you must have a lot of patience. Because I'd just be like, no, that's not an emergency.
Yeah.
Why are you calling again?
The thing about it is that there's no reader board sign that says the next call coming in is this, chest pain, or next call is CPR, or the next call is a car stolen. Like, it's just, they call, and I have to find out what they're calling about. And
Yeah.
it might be one of these people that we talk to a lot, but that doesn't mean that they deserve me listening to what they're saying and making sure that they're okay and that they're safe and that they don't have a legitimate need to speak to the police or a medical issue. I mean, if we just
Yeah.
completely disregard them because we recognize the phone number, or we recognize if they're calling from a landline at their house and we recognize their name, it's not this, oh, it's just that person again. And so we can just whatever, I mean, they still may have a legitimate reason to call.
You're being very kind, Stephen. It's probably why you won this award.
Uh,
But is it illegal for you to share maybe the most non-emergency call that you've received?
Yeah. So, what is it? In answer to your question, is it illegal? There's people that work here at BOIC that are the research department, and they get like public media requests for calls, and those things certain things get redacted. So there's information that I can't share just
Yeah, of
because
course.
I don't want to share too much because I'm just like, I don't know, like, what part of this would not be okay.
Mhm.
I wish that I could say that it's the ridiculous and the silly things that I remember. I really don't. And part of that is because we take so many calls in a shift. I mean, if I only work 2 hours of my day answering the phone, which is being abnormal, but if I only worked 2 hours answering the phone and each call averages 2 minutes, I mean, that's 60 calls
Mhm.
that I'm going to take, right? And so I get a lot. I will say that the thing that comes to mind is when there was a report of somebody screaming for help from inside of a dumpster that they fell into, and they couldn't get out.
But it was real. Somebody was like in there and they couldn't get out.
Yeah, somebody really was in there and couldn't get out.
I'm glad it wasn't trash day. See, that would
Yeah,
definitely be a 911 Lone Star, by the way, but it would have been
yeah.
trash day. And then they would have called
Probably.
you in the trash can as like, and you'd have to like figure out which dumpster so they wouldn't compact. Like
Yeah.
that would be the episode, Stephen.
Stop that truck! Stop that truck!
You just slowly running, just slow motion running after any garbage truck, just throwing your headsets down.
Stop! Yeah.
All right, let's take a quick break here. When we come back, we'll be talking about the long hold times that some people experience when they call 911. Rose City Comic Con, Portland's premier comic convention, returns September 22nd through the 24th to the Oregon Convention Center. Celebrity guests already include Doctor Who stars Jodie Whittaker, Mandip Gill, and Karen Gillan. There'll also be comic creator guests, including Kelly Sue DeConnick, Adam Hughes, Greg Rucka, Brian Stelfreeze, and many, many more. The deadline to skip registration and have your badges mailed directly to your home is Sunday, July 23rd. Now, badges will still be available after that date, but if you want an official t-shirt and lanyard to be conveniently shipped to your home, you'll need to grab them before July 23rd. For even more information, head over to rosecitycomiccon.com. I ask about these, like how many non-emergency calls you're getting because we've heard a ton recently. I'm sure you've also, have had this feedback about how Portland's emergency response has been really slow recently. But that is from our perspective. Like,
Mhm.
what are you seeing? Like, what's going on? Like with that, that you're seeing why people would think this.
Yeah, sure. I know that it's really hard for people when they have to wait for a really long time, for minutes on the phone, on hold,
Mhm.
because nobody's answering. It's definitely hard on them, and like they're the ones in the midst of all of whatever it is. But it's hard on us too. I said recently that the caller that I'm talking to, when I answer the phone, that person is my world for however long that call goes, right?
Mhm.
But I have eyes and I can see that we have a reader board, but our phone system shows us how many calls are waiting, and that can get stressful for people. For us as call takers, dispatchers, to
Hmm.
see how long people have to hold, it really is heart wrenching for us. And so just know that while we're talking to somebody else and helping them, we're trying to get them the help that we can, and we know that you're waiting, and we're trying to get through the calls.
Stephen, how long have you been at this position?
I've been a dispatcher with Portland for 10 years.
10 years.
Yeah.
And in those 10 years, have you noticed that? I mean, I don't want you to speculate. I don't want you to feel like you have to speak about policy or any of this, because that's not why we're here. We're here to talk,
Mhm.
to talk to you and to congratulate you. But I'm curious, in those 10 years, have you found more frequent calls? Like, I'm just curious if it's like people are waiting because there's just more calls, or
Mhm.
if it's a combo of more calls and then less, dispatchers, because there have been reports of 911 being understaffed, is what we're hearing.
Yeah, sure. Well, there's Portland's seen a lot of population growth. And I mean, we're not just Portland either. We're also all of Multnomah County. So we answer 911 for all of Multnomah County. And so with the population growth that those other cities in Multnomah County have experienced as well has increased the call volume. And
Mhm.
and then with the 2020 protesting and all of that stuff, I am fortunate that I didn't work nights when all of that was going on. So a majority of insanely high call volume happened during the night or the nighttime hours. All of those things play a part. And then with people retiring and
Mhm.
there's been a drop in the number of people of what we would consider senior dispatchers who are answering the phone. But even on top of that, we're always hiring. And we just had our largest applicant pool come through, which was really great. And they did a whole bunch of hiring and stuff. So people are being trained. There's constantly people rotating through their training, and training takes a long time, and they're constantly coming up the ranks. And we have a lot more people that have gone through the training and have been certified and doing the job on their own without a coach.
So what I'm hearing is help is coming.
Yes.
So that should alleviate some of that stress. That's great.
Yes.
That's good to hear, Stephen, because your job is already stressful as it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
without there being a line, a wait line.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure you see the little in my head, it's just this one big board, and it's just little red flashing lights, and that's what you see for 10 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's we're digital. We're in the digital age.
Huge lever.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you love what do you love best about your job?
I have two daughters. One of them's 9, one of them's 5, and I get to tell them that I'm helping people, and that is really rewarding. I remember when my 9-year-old now was probably 4 or 5, and an ambulance drove by, and she's like, "Look, someone's getting help," because she knew that Dad sends help to people, and so I'm with her. But it's like, yeah, she didn't quite grasp the concept of I'm not actually the one doing that, but I have a lot of people that I work with that are doing that. And anyway, it's very rewarding to be able to tell them that I get to help people.
Yeah. Well, it seems like you're doing a great job, because you are our number one dispatcher of the United States of America, which is crazy. Or is it
Yeah.
North America as well? When they say North America, is that Canada
It's
too?
Canada included. Yeah.
Steven, that's so cool.
Yes,
Take that, Canada.
Yeah, that's right. No, I have some friends who are Canadian, so and a coworker.
We have an audio producer. I'll make sure that she knows. Yeah, well, Stephen, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy workday. We appreciate all the work that you do. Thank you. Thank you so much for everything.
I was glad to be able to do it. Thank you for having me.
And now for your microdose of news. A federal judge has ruled that Oregon's Measure 114 is legal under the U.S. Constitution's Second Amendment. That's the gun permitting system and high-capacity magazine ban passed by voters last year. But even with the ruling, the law is still on hold because of a challenge in state court. And dozens of organizations are calling for a renewed investment in Portland Street Response, the city's mental health crisis response team. 40 organizations and local leaders submitted a petition calling the city to end a hiring freeze and to allow the group to respond to more types of 911 calls. The public lobbying campaign comes after City Commissioner Renee Gonzalez moved to halt an expansion of the program from operating 24/7, which is a necessary change in order to attract some federal funding. For even more local news and events, sign up for our daily newsletter, Hey Portland. We'll throw a link in the show notes. That's all for today here on CityCast Portland. Thank you so much for listening. If you'd like to support the show, please just share it with a friend or leave us a good review. It really does help us out. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more from around the city. Until then, see you at Slim's.